here it is 2-by-2 gun, and towards the end of the game, and this is a touchdown where he's just going to run. He said it was a slant to seam. It could have been a deeper slant that he just took vertical, because it's a cover 2, and that's at least what it looks like. It looks like a Tampa, where this linebacker, the middle linebacker, is going to open to the passing strength. That passing strength is the 2 receivers instead of the 1 tight end, 1 receiver. So he opens to the strength, and they just spot drop. This guy widens a little bit too much, and Yeboah just takes it right up the middle, and it's a relatively simple touchdown. But I'm going to try to play the plays. I'll talk about the play a little bit before, maybe sometimes, and then play the play, and then break it down maybe frame by frame. But I know people want me to. I've heard that multiple times. People want me to play it the whole way through. It's fine. Gives me time to drink water. Yeah, could have been a slant, and that's what he said post game interview. So he runs a quick slant, sees this linebacker, not looking towards him, sees open field, and just looks back at Morgan and just breaks it into the open part of the field. So good job taking it vertical. That's a good adjustment to the route. But in terms of the linebacker who's covering that, if this is if they're matching, zone matching, and it's not just a spot drop, he's not going to widen. Or he'll stay more over the top, and he won't just completely disregard him. He would carry him, even if he's just spot dropping. Though he's in his zone, he needs to at least take him for an extra second that he doesn't right here. So he plays in terrible coverage as linebacker, spot drop or matching doesn't matter. He's definitely spot dropping, which again, spot dropping, you're covering open grasses or open. You're just covering grass. You're just covering that spot in the grass. Where matching is more. It's basically man coverage. It's zone coverage, but it's more of man coverage and zone coverage. And when guys start to pass off into zones, that's when you switch on guys. But match looks almost more like man than zone for the most part. So he would match him right here as soon as he gets into his zone, and then carry him as long as there's not the one cuts, depending on what the defense is. But maybe if he went vertical, he would match him until he passed him off to the safety, then drop to the one if he in cuts. But if the one doesn't in cut, he would match him up the seam too, and end up like coning him, or not like coning him, but like double teaming him. So again, relatively easy play. Touchdown. Is it the most complex thing? No, not really. So good, but at the same time, kind of underwhelming at the same time. All right. I had to pause it for a second there. Actually, not for a second. I paused it for quite a while. Probably like an hour or two. Had some house stuff to do. Got it done. And in terms of that play for Kenny Yeboah, it wasn't – I'm not saying it was – I forget the word, the verbiage I used literally like however long ago. Underwhelming, I think I said. It wasn't underwhelming in terms of like what he did. He did what he needed to do, but – maybe it was a little bit less impressive than what we thought when we initially watched it during the broadcast. And then obviously when they showed the replay, it was pretty obvious. It was like, oh, okay. Relatively simple play. And then the other play I have from him, he had another catch on the sideline. That was a pretty nice ball by Morgan. It looked like a sail concept, and he was an intermediate read of the sail concept. And he body caught it. I believe it wasn't a hands catch. So I was kind of like, oh, all right. He got his feet in. Wasn't like toe tapping, but he had enough sideline awareness. So decent play. Again, you'd like to see more than the hands catch. But let's see here. Oh, I guess I didn't cut this. Yeah, I didn't cut this for whatever. That happens sometimes. We're usually record and then you cut it, but this was not cut. So here's a play. Obviously, we know at this point. Obviously, this was after the Daniel Brown fumble and return. It gave the Jets time to come back. What, 4th and whatever that was? Let's see, what was it? 4th and 4. 6 seconds. They could have maybe tried to take one more shot along the sideline just to get a little bit closer. But at that point, it's still kind of going to be the same deal. 40-yard shot, 50-yard shot. What's the difference really? Good job. Obviously, I'm not even really here to talk about Morgan because he's not on the team anymore. Now, in terms of the catch by Yeboah, obviously they're coached to go into the end zone, and a couple of yards past the line to gain because you don't want to attack the ball on the goal line, and not have it be a touchdown. So you want to go a couple of yards deep into the end zone, at least a yard or two. Now, in terms of the catch, I watched it from a couple different angles. I'm just trying to be honest. That's what it is here. How nice is this catch? If you look at it frame by frame, one, he doesn't hands catch it. You can see these are his two hands, 1, 2. The ball actually goes through his hands into this guy's like arms kind of, and like bounces back into Yeboah's like forearms, and then they wrestle for the ball. Like that's all it was. It's not like he hands caught it. It's not like he body caught it. If this guy wasn't here behind him, this probably actually goes through his arms. Watch. So in terms of like, oh, such a great game. Like, yeah, it was okay. Like the touchdown I just showed, he ran a slant. The guy was in spot coverage. Good job, taking it vertical, but all right. And then this, like, again, watch frame by frame. It's a longer video, so it's gonna be harder actually, but you can see ball. See the ball right there? This is his hand. This is his hand. If this guy's hands weren't here and he didn't like kind of hit it into him, it's not even a catch. It might bounce off his forearm. Maybe he catches after he bounces off his forearm, but I doubt it. Next frame. Now he's going to catch it. He actually probably has the ball in his hands right here, but because Yeboah's forearm and arm is between the ball, and him bringing it into his chest as defender, he kind of comes down with it. So now, again, you can see it bounce right there. I think it's a combination not of his hands. I think it was his forearm and his hands at the same time, kind of. You can see like simultaneously. It to me, watching back in fast motion again, it probably looked like it was forearm, and then this guy's hands went around it, but it helped him kind of control the ball. And then now he has two arms on him, where this guy kind of has just one arm, and then he's gonna pull it down. So like in terms of is it a DeAndre Hopkins catch? Last year against the Bills, the Hail Murray they call it now. No, when you look at it frame by frame, it was all right, But again, just to be fair, it'd be different if he caught it himself or caught it with his hands. It would be a different ballgame. Again, could blow up every player in terms of them doing the greatest thing alive, and I wouldn't highlight that frame by frame. But I got to be honest, as you guys know. Josh Johnson, I put him in here as a number 2 stud, and he's a part of the practice squad now, which is good. I actually think that, in a game, I rather have, this is the thing. If he's going to be on your practice squad, why is Mike White on the practice squad to me? I rather have the chance of him getting poached and having not even an okay backup quarterback. Josh Johnson's a bad backup quarterback, but at least you feel somewhat comfortable with him coming to the game and managing an offense. Like he looked in control, accurate, even though the reads were pretty simple, like he had a lot of like slant flats and stick concepts, like things that are pretty simple that I saw, some sail concepts. So he had a relatively simple game plan, but he operated. He looked comfortable. He navigated through pressure. Like there were some things that he did that I've never seen from Mike White or Morgan on a consistent basis. So Josh Johnson, just being 7 for 8 for 73 yards with a touchdown, looked better than Mike White or James Morgan ever looked. So in a game situation, if Wilson, I'm going to say he sprains his finger. Okay, just sprains his finger. He can come back in the second half. But the first half, he has to go to the locker room, all this stuff, and they're still playing the game. Mike White has to come in for a drive or two. You're screwed. He's just not an NFL quarterback. Josh Johnson comes in. He can at least manage it, like give your team a shot, just a shot to win the game. And now, obviously, Zach Wilson to Josh Johnson, it declines rapidly, the chance of winning, but there is still a chance. With Mike White in the game, he can't throw the ball. He panics with pressure. There's a ton of problems we've seen through the preseason. So Josh Johnson just showing up on the field and looking like an NFL quarterback was enough for me to give him the number 2 stud of the game, because I think he probably earned himself a spot on the practice squad. But I just don't get putting him not on the active roster and Mike White on the active roster. Unless the Jets think that Mike White, based on what he showed, would get poached by who? The Jets have the worst backup quarterback situation in the league. Maybe there's one or two worse, if you actually went and watched some guys, but they have a terrible backup quarterback situation. And it's an area where I spoke about plenty of times. I think Joe Douglas has failed at backup quarterback this year. He just has. I feel much more comfortable even with Joe Flacco back there. Joe Flacco, Brian Hoyer, obviously Nick Foles, Nick Mullins. I know Nick Mullins looked like garbage against the Jets, but he's not as bad as Mike White. So I don't get it. But for first on 3rd and 9. They run this concept. They run this it's like a levels type concept. It's not a smash, but they run a lot with the outside receiver running the dig, and then the inside receiver running a out, and it's probably 1-2, unless it's a short situation, then it might be 1-2, but it acts as like a levels, just high read, low read. And they run this multiple times in the preseason, I've noticed. So they go back to one of their familiar route combinations here. Vincent Smith, in terms of the route, could have been a lot better, to be honest, in terms of the break. He starts to break before the 30-yard line and bends it all the way to the 25, and then catches the ball with his chest. Not the most impressive route, from me. Again, now in off coverage, you don't necessarily have to run a square break or square cut. Like, you don't have to break down like if he was in man coverage right on top of your hip. But even with him a little bit off, could you afford a 2-3 yard speed cut inside to create that separation? Yes, but a 5 yard rounded